So a very good afternoon. Welcome to Les Sables d'Olonne. It's day number 58 on the race course, and here we're focusing today on ocean health and the Ocean Decade Initiative for UNESCO and IMOCA. Meantime, on the race course, well, it's a sequence which is really unprecedented in the Vendée Globe. We've had 4 skippers passing Cape Horn in a period of less than 4 hours during last night and this morning, and 8 IMOCAs rounded in under 12 hours. Between 0 to 40 hours yesterday morning, Monday morning, Damien Sagan on Group Apacil rounded, and 4 o'clock this morning when Isabelle Josch rounded on MACSF. I say 8 IMOCAs rounded the famous Cape Horn. Meantime, Italy's Giancarlo Pedotti on Prysmian Group at 01:12 hours this morning became the first non-French skipper to round the Cape Horn. And at the front, well, it really is a completely different world. In a high-pressure system, everybody's looking to get out of the high-pressure system first. There may be a definitive break for Yannick Bestaven over the next 48 hours. Will the chicken be supreme? And will the goose be cooked for the others? Meantime, my guest today will have Imogen Dinham-Price from IMOCA, who's the Sustainability Officer. She's in Lorient, I believe. Martin Kramp from Ocean Ops from UNESCO's Ship Department. Martin is with us on Skype, I believe. And I'm very, very fortunate to have on the plateau, on the stage with me, Fabrice Amedeo from the Vendée Globe, and also a sustainability follower, and you have your lab on board the boat. We'll go to Fabrice in just a second. We're also trying to get Boris Herman live. Boris has a problem with his mainsail. We saw that last night on his approach to Cape Horn. He's been racing only under the J3 approaching Cape Horn. We know that he's been making his mainsail repair. It's been a very difficult period for him, and we understand that within the last 15 to 20 minutes he was trying to hoist it, so it's probably doubtful we'll get him. In the meantime, let's go to Imogen in Lorient with IMOCA's Sustainability Officer. Just explain a little bit, Imogen. Tell us about this initiative and what's it all about.
Thanks, Andy. So our initiative is with the International Commission and Ocean Ops, and we intended to sign our partnership with them last January. So we've started our project, which is to further scientific research in the most remotest parts of the ocean. So the Vendée Globe is a great opportunity for this. It means that our skippers can deploy the weather buoys and the Argo floats to collect meteorological and climate data. This is something which has been going on not just in the Vendée Globe, but we did this during the Vendée Arctique in July and in the Transat Vab in 2019. It's been a great opportunity for us to go forward and try and collect as much data as possible with the skippers. They partake on a voluntary basis, so they can deploy these instruments when they want. Other boats like Fabrice and Boris have gone forward, and they've actually installed ocean packs on board their boat.
To achieve, Imogen?
So what we're trying to do is we're trying to collect as much weather data and climate data as possible, so we can send it back to land so it can be studied. Also, the weather data can be used straight away by the weather stations like Météo France, so that they can predict the weather going on as the skippers go around the globe, or whether or not that's just the weather which is going to be used at home where we are.
So how many skippers are involved, and who's launched their buoys so far?
So far we've had about 10 skippers which are involved in this action. So 3 skippers, which are Alexia, Boris and Louis Berton, have deployed Argo floats to collect the more climate-related data. And then there are 7 further skippers who have deployed weather buoys, like Manu Cousin, and we can see in the photo there. He's deploying a weather buoy so that we can collect weather data. Good,
Imogen. We'll come back to you in just 1 minute. We're going to look at the standings just now, as at 12 o'clock this morning, or midday today. And we'll see that Yannick Bestaven is indeed in the lead by 198 miles ahead of Charlie Dallin. Thomas Rion is in third at 342 miles behind the leader. Not too far behind, Damien Sagan is in fourth. Just about 100 miles between them, 90 miles or so between them just now. Benjamin Dutroux is in 5th at 628.5 miles. Louis Burton 6th. He's quite close to Benjamin Dutroux and probably catching. Indeed, Louis Burton was doing 22.1 knots versus 14.4 knots. Indeed, Louis is the quickest at the moment. Jean Le Cam is in 7th, 739.9 behind the leader. Maxime Sorel in 8th, Giancarlo Padotti in 9th. Boris Herrmann on this classement is doing 4.9 knots in the period into midday. Isabel Josh 16.8 knots and catching Boris quite significantly just now. She's about 30 miles behind. Then for internationals, well, Pip Hare still going nicely in 15th place, doing 12.8 knots. Alan Rura is quite close to her behind, about 70 miles behind on La Fabrique. Jeremy Bayou going well in 18th. Didac Costa in 20th, doing 14.1 knots, is just over 100 miles ahead of Kojiro Shiraishi. Towards the end, we have Miranda Mera in 23rd. She has a problem just now with her pilot, intermittent problem she's trying to sort out on board Compagnie de France. Ari Hosela in 26th, steady, always routing a little bit safely up to the north. And Sebastian Destremo, as far as we can see, does seem to have a little bit of a solution. He seems to be making good speeds, doing 10.7 knots. I'm going to do Fabrice Amedeo. Fabrice, your thoughts on this battle at the front of the race at the moment? How do you see the South Atlantic playing out?
It's very interesting. I'm friend with Yannick Bestaven, so I'm very happy to see his position now. I think.
Is it a surprise to you to see him leading?
Not really, because I follow him before the Vendée Globe, and his preparation was very good, perfect, and I thought he could do a very good place, perhaps in the first place. But it's a surprise to see him as a first place now with an old boat, the same as my boat. But I think he can keep this place until the end of the race now.
And do you find it hard to be engaged with the race in your position, or do you still have the same passion?
It's very difficult. With Christmas, it was.
I can imagine.
It was easy to be with my family and to forget the Vendée Globe. But now with the Cape Horn, it's very difficult to see all my friends sailing with strong winds, with the dream of Vendée Globe and the Cape Horn now. So it's quite difficult for me. Yeah.
Are you quite close with Boris then, with your shared interest in sustainability?
Yes, I sent some message to Boris, and we are friends. Yeah.
Let's have a quick look at Boris. Boris was coming into Cape Horn yesterday evening with this problem. He was sailing only under his J3, and this is Boris's video from yesterday evening. He had 40 knots and a full Cape Horn experience coming up for him.
30 to 40 knots of wind. J3 up by demonstrating. Drop there. The sea is white. Come up on the boom if it's present. I did a little jump to go away from the continental shelf to avoid having breaking waves. And then I jump back soon in half an hour. And I, damn it, can't put my mainsail. I damaged it in a jibe when I took a reef. Reef 3, the battens got under the shrouds and started flapping and so. Another slap in my face a bit, but it puts up my my fighting spirit. I will never give up. I lose mine, so it hurts. Many moments. But okay, I have to put another patch on the other side of the sail, and then I have to stitch the leech into it. Damn it! Anyway, Cap Horn. Yeah, we're there. No, we won't see it. Too far south. It's too dangerous by this sea state to go on the shelf, maybe. Or better not to, especially underpowered like this. Whoo! waiting for some relief.
So it's Boris Herrmann. It's quite difficult times for him. Fabrice, I mean, he had sailed a very, very prudent, consistent race, preserving the boat, and then to get to Cape Horn and then have this happen, it's a tough moment for Boris.
Yes, it's a very hard moment for Boris. I had the same problem 4 years ago during the Vendée Globe. Big problem with my mainsail, a big hole in my mainsail, bigger than his own problem. And I lost 1,000 miles, so it can be very difficult. Boris has a super behavior, super spirit, and I'm sure he will do a very good end of race. He do an amazing race.
He's done a great race so far, and I say we understand that he's completing his repair. We'll keep you updated, hopefully, with the flash info later on the day. Meantime, let's go to Martin, who's Martin Kramp, and he's going to explain a little bit more about his role and the role of the IMOCA skippers in the Ocean Ops programme.
Yeah, thank you. So I will continue with what Imogen said, actually. So behind me, you see what we call the Global Ocean Observing System, which comprises around 8,000 operational instruments at the moment. And it is implemented by many contributing countries. So like the UK Met Office or the IFRE Marine Research Infrastructure here in France. And our job at Ocean Ops, which is a shared office of 2 UN agencies, is to coordinate the international effort and to create a real global coverage between the different systems. And that becomes very difficult as soon as we go in particular into the Southern Hemisphere, because we have very few deployment opportunities to get either autonomous instruments like drifting buoys or so into the water, or to have a ship in that area which measures data all the time, like it's the case with Fabrice or with Boris.
So just explain the difference between the drifting buoys and the balises, the weather buoys and the data buoys.
Yeah, so the weather buoy, that is something which stays at the surface and will in particular submit barometric pressure, which is very important for the forecasting. And without these buoys in the Southern Hemisphere, accurate forecasting would not be possible. And the profiling floats, which like Boris deployed one, that will dive into the water column to 2,000 meters and then come back to the surface after 10 days and measures through the whole water column and then send the data and go back to depths, and all that for 7 years. So that allows scientists to really look into the ocean and to measure salinity and temperature at a really global scale. And that is important long-term for climate change studies, but short-term also for forecasting of the weather of the sea state and sea currents of tomorrow.
So you're saying that the weather buoys, they start transmitting data straight away, and effectively they're making the forecasts more accurate as soon as they're in the water, pretty much?
That is true, and it's really a very important contribution, in particular in the Southern Ocean. Without these buoys, because you cannot measure atmospheric pressure from a satellite, and we have very few boats in the Southern Ocean. So without these buoys, the quality of the weather forecasts would be very, very bad. So it's really a win-win situation here. As soon as an IMOCA skipper has deployed a buoy, that buoy contributes to the quality of the weather forecasts.
And the salinity, just explain to somebody like me who doesn't know much about it, what's important about the salinity and the changes?
So with the salinity, we know very much about ocean currents, actually, and the ocean currents and how the water masses move. That plays an important role if you want to learn, for example, how much heat goes into the ocean, how much is absorbed by the ocean, and then we get immediately to subjects like global warming, actually. So this is where salinity plays a crucial role. These floats, if you have short-term phenomena like El Nino or La Nina, which have droughts or flooding or a lot of dry periods. So this is what the data flows in, which we can calculate much better thanks to these data.
So I'm going to go to Fabrice. Fabrice, you have your own lab effectively on board. Yeah. What does that do?
So I have 2 sensors on board. The first one called Ocean Pack. Boris Herrmann has the same on board Malaysia. This first sensor measures carbon dioxide, salinity, and sea surface temperature. And the second one measures microplastic in the ocean.
And what was your initiative to do this? Why did you decide this is what you wanted to do? Is this a personal thing?
Yes. After my first Vendée Globe, I lived a beautiful adventure, and I was looking for something to have more sense in my project.
Give back.
Yes, and I'm a friend with Boris, and Boris spoke about his own sensor. So I made a short investigation to understand what I could do to bring something with my boat to the science. And I decided to buy these two sensors with my partners. So it's a private finance to buy these two sensors and to be involved in this movement.
So how does it actually work? What do you do and how much time does it take when you're racing?
Okay, for the first one, the first sensor, I have nothing to do. So it works
Automatically?
Yes, every time. I just need to have energy in my battery to work if I want that it works. For the second one, there is a job because the sensor can't measure directly the microplastic in the ocean. So I have to change the filter every 24 hours and to put the filter in a box.
Can you actually see them in the filter? Can you?
Yes, every 24 hours you have to take them out of the sensor and to put a new one. But I don't see anything because the microplastic is very little, very small. Micro.
Indeed, but I mean, do you follow the data and you understand what you're seeing, or does the data just go off to the agencies?
So the boat can send the data directly to the scientist. The first sensor can send directly the data, and for the second one, the data will be. We will have the result in a few months. So I can't follow really the result of the campaign.
But do we know the general trends that we're looking for and what we're trying to do?
Not yet, but we know that there is microplastic everywhere in the ocean.
Good. I'm going to go now. Obviously, somebody else who's on course, who's very involved in ocean health and sustainability, is Alexia Barrier. And we spoke with Alexia earlier on. She's in good form, and she was explaining her role on TSC for My Planet.
Since now 10 years with For My Planet, I started to want to act for the ocean. So there is two things. We have now more than 10,000 kids following us, and I tell them story about ocean. My goal is to make them love the ocean, and so they will want to protect the ocean. And I also work with scientists since 10 years. I take some data at sea. I have salinity and temperature data that I can take with my thermosalinometer on board. And I did deploy 3 buoys for the scientists during this trip. So it's not a big thing, but I think that for the scientists observing ocean, those data are really precious. So it's important for me to take care of the ocean as the ocean is taking care of us, you know.
Indeed, but Alexia, having 10,000 young people following you is amazing.
Yes, it's amazing. They are from different parts of the world. They are from France, but also from Cape Verde, and some are in South Africa, in Brazil, in USA, and they send me every day so many messages. They give me a lot of energy. So my team sometimes is sending me a message, or they are singing songs for me. They make some poems. They make some joke also, or some music. And it's really, really important to share with kids our trip around the world, because that can give them a goal in life and see that everything is possible. If you dream and work really hard, you can make it, whatever.
Super. And the kids are our future, aren't they?
Exactly, they are our future. They know better than the adults what to do with the planet. Unfortunately, we are not listening enough the kids today, I think, because they are really good ideas and really simple ideas that we could promote more. And so I feel really responsible for the next generation. And that's why when I will come back after this Vendée Globe, I will work harder to protect your oceans and involve more kids in my sailing races and adventure.
So that's Alexia Barry. Now, Imogen, it's great to see Alexia getting so much support from young people. She has 10,000 people following her, but other skippers have the same kind of initiative with young people all around the world.
Yeah, and that's something that we've seen a lot of during the Vendée Globe this year is the interaction between the skippers and schools, not just about the scientific program, but just in general, just schools asking questions about their adventures and what they're doing and solo sailing. But another great example was Louis Berton before the Vendée Globe. He took part in the Adopt a Boy scheme, and there were lots of schools in Brest which took part, and they've been following his Argo floater and seeing where he deployed it, and following Louis and learning more about all of this climate change and what we can do to help.
Indeed, Imogen, it's great to have them engaged on both levels, on the sustainability, ocean health level, and also engaging them with the Vendée Globe. Imogen, thank you so much for joining us today. Hopefully we can catch up at some point towards the end of the race, perhaps, and go further on this topic. Fabrice, you've visited some schools as well. I believe you have your own initiative.
Yes, when I stopped the Vendée Globe, I visited a school in Cape Town, in South Africa. It was amazing. And in France, I will visit some school too. We had a school program with this Vendée Globe. We published a book about sustainability and ocean. 60,000 children received it, and we are followed by a lot of class in
both languages?
Sorry?
In both languages?
No, just in France.
We'll have to translate.
Yes, for the next time.
Indeed, Fabrice, I'll come back to you in just one second. Martin, where does this initiative is on for the next decade? What are we hoping to achieve?
So, as you said, the United Nations Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development has just started on January 1st. And one of the goals is to have a more integrated ocean observing system that comprises in particular contributions from civil society and from the private sector. And these civil science activities, as we see here, are also very important because the funding of this observing system is getting a bigger and bigger problem. And Boris and Fabrice, for example, they have spoken to their partners, and with the financial support of their partners, they bought actually the instruments which they installed on board of the ships. That is a very important contribution. And the other aspect which I wanted to raise is that is about outreach, actually. So the broader public is rather, I would say, saturated when we speak about climate change issues. But when a Vendée Globe skipper speaks about such issues, people listen. So that outreach is also of a very, very high importance for us.
Indeed, I mean, it's about engaging our public. Yeah, and you're talking about the corporate involvement, what different corporations, enterprises and companies can do to help. But what can the public do in this sense?
Well, the public actually, the Vendée Globe skippers for us are like ambassadors. They speak about what they do and how they can contribute to ocean science. And if a family will decide to sail around the world next year with just a pleasure yacht, they can also get in touch with us, and we will have probably some job for them to do. So there are quite a lot of things which you can do with civil society, or just install a weather station on board, submit meteorological information. That is not rocket science. We have easy means to make that happen, even with a private yacht.
Indeed, I think, Martin, under the current circumstances, more and more people thinking of setting sail off around the world, perhaps inspired by the Vendée Globe. Thank you so much for joining us today, Martin. It's great to hear your information, and we'll watch how the initiative moves forward over the next few weeks and months. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks in particular to all the skippers and to the IMOCA class for their contributions. Goodbye.
Thank you, Martin. Fabrice, then, what are your plans now?
I will go back to Paris tonight, and then next week I go to Gran Canaria to join my boat, because my team is delivering the boat from South Africa to Gran Canaria, and they will leave the boat in Gran Canaria, and I will finish the travel alone on my boat from Gran Canaria to Europe, to France, in the low pressure in the winter. So a good training for me, and a good way of feeling good sensation again on my boat.
Indeed, it's a kind of closure in a way, isn't it?
Yes, Yes, it is.
And then beyond that, Transat Jacques Vabre,
Yes, Transat Jacques Vabre next year. And,
with who?
I don't know yet. I don't know. I have an idea, but I will not give you the scoop today.
Oh, come on. That's my job.
a young co-skipper.
Young
maybe.
co-skipper.
Yeah,
I mean,
young
is that an initiative that you like to bring on board to try and encourage younger skippers?
I don't know, but I think it's very important to give a luck to a young skipper. So I think I will save the next Transat Jacques Vabre with a young one. And then Route du Rhum next year. And then Vendée Globe in 4 years, of course.
Good man. Now listen, first non-French skipper round to the Cape Horn was Giancarlo Pedotti, our Italian skipper on Group Prismian. And this is Giancarlo. We spoke to him briefly just to congratulate him as much as anything. This is Giancarlo just after Cape Horn. Many congratulations for your passage of Cape Horn.
Yes, thank you very much. It was pretty windy, gust around 50 knots, and the medium wind was 35. So I didn't sleep a lot, but now we are close with Maxime to the zone cover from the islands, and we don't have a lot of wind, but we keep it again, I think, in the next 2 hours.
It's an incredible race. We've never seen anything like it before on the Vendée Globe, and you're part of it.
Yeah, now it's important because it's the final part, and I want to concentrate myself and focus and pay all my attention in this part, because I think that there are conditions to have a great race, and so I'm very happy to be back in the Atlantic, the sea of my house, and now cross this part of the race.
And Giancarlo, did you have a time for a small celebration?
No celebration, was too windy. I was chat by phone with one friend of me, and I said, okay, we celebrate together. And after it arrived a gust around 45 knots, and I said, okay, you celebrate for me, and I do it, I do it later when the conditions are better. And so I did it just half an hour ago, and I make a video, and you'll receive it in the next few hours.
So that is Giancarlo Pedotti on good form after rounding Cape Horn and setting himself up for the South Atlantic. Special thank you then to Fabrice Amedeo for joining me on the plateau.
Thank you, Andy.
A real privilege, and tomorrow a mystery guest. We're still working on the legal contracts at the moment, and so on. In the meantime, any questions on the Vendée Globe in general? We've got so much support, so many questions from around the world. Do post them on Facebook, on Instagram or on Twitter. And in the meantime, I'm leaving you with Johnny Bestaven on board Maitre Coq.
C'est beau. Au revoir les albatros. Au revoir les albatros.